It's honestly great. I think it's super cute. 61, 62, 63. It just makes me feel in the zone. I'm making some vanilla sweet cream. Good morning and welcome back to my channel. I feel like a coffee was very fitting this morning because anytime I do anything like finance related, it just makes me feel in the zone to sit here at my desk in my office with a cup of coffee and my budget. You know what I mean? So good. But I thought I would walk you guys through kind of my budgeting system, my cash envelope system, the thing that I hold near and dear to my heart, the thing that I always go back to that has helped me save money, budget very well, and be more conscious of my spending. Is this right here. I don't use this system like 24/7, and honestly I should because it is that good, but I will use this whenever I get to a point where I need to be more meticulous about my spending and I need to be able to watch it, or if a budget's getting a little bit tighter, I always come back to this. I tell everyone about the system, and this isn't the first video that I've made on this, but I always do like an updated version. So today is the updated version of my cash envelope system, and I want to show you guys how I set it up, how it works for me, how it works in general, and then I have money that we are going to stuff into my buckets that I like to call them, the envelopes that we're going to be using. So I'm going to walk you through the whole process. And I hope that this is so helpful for you because I swear by this method. So let's break it down. I did not come up with the cash envelope system. I wish I did, but it's from Dave Ramsey. If you Google it, you can like see why he came up with it, read more about it. But I started using this in college because obviously a broke college student, I had to get my budget together. And since then I have loved it and adored it. And again, like I said, always come back to it. Because I love this system so much and it does work, I bought a little like cash envelope system that keeps everything together in this little mini binder that I'm going to walk you through. It's not necessary, but I'll link mine down below because I think it's really cute and it comes with all the envelopes, the binder system. It even came with a little sticker sheet so you can label your envelopes. It has pockets on the inside to hold things. Like, it's honestly great. I think it's super cute. So I will link it, but you don't need it. When I used to do it, I would literally just use like envelopes. If you go into your local bank, like when I went to go get this money withdrawn from my account, and they always ask like what I'm doing, and I tell them, and they always offer to give me envelopes, so you don't have to get something, but having envelopes or buckets or something is really helpful because that's the whole gist of the system. Before we dive into it, just to visualize and conceptualize what I'm saying, you're gonna have an envelope or a bucket or something that signifies a section of your budget, and you're gonna have an envelope for each section of your budget. So to start out, you would want to write down and make a list of every single thing that you spend money on or that you're going to spend money on. Since you're creating a budget, maybe you want to not include something because you don't want to spend money on it anymore. Like if you're not going to buy fast food anymore, then don't make a fast food budget. But if fast food is a part of your life, you're going to make a fast food budget. You're going to make a coffee budget. You're going to make gas, rent, electricity, your phone bill, your car insurance, literally whatever you spend money on. We have animals and dogs, so I have an animal bucket. I even have like just a funsies bucket, so like date nights or just like fun spending. If you have home decor, like I'm saying, be meticulous. You don't want to have a big bucket of just like stuff. You want to be very specific with what you're spending your money on and have a bucket or an envelope for each of those. Now, before you can actually like create your cash envelope system, you do need to create the budget that the system is going to work within. If you've never like made a budget before, there's tons of ways to do it. And I have an Excel sheet that I made like so many years ago and shared in my blog that I used to have that I still use to help create my budget, and that I've honestly gotten DMs about that people still use it or that they're still kind of looking for it. So I will link it down below. There's instructions on the Excel sheet of how to use it, so definitely look into it if you want to use the one that I use. But you're going to be filling out your income and your expenses that you already use, because to make your budget, I recommend looking back at your spending habits for at least 3 months, if not more. You get more accurate with the more months that you include. But first things first, you need to go through your bank statements and allocate each line item to a bucket and categorize that by month. So you can add up your animal spending budget for January, February, December, November, however far back you want to go. And you'll input that into the budget sheet. You're also going to input your income every single month. The baseline is just to make sure that you're in the green. Make sure that you're not spending more than you're making. Otherwise, we got some debt going on and you need to make a debt bucket, like your credit card bucket, something to start paying off debt if you have it. If you're in the green, we're starting off really strong. But once you have looked at what you have been spending, one, you're going to have like some shock maybe. If you're not conscientious of what you're spending money on, you might be like, holy shit, I didn't know I was spending $800 every month on Ubers and drinks and fast food or whatnot. And this is your time to like reassess your spending. We created the budget buckets, but now we're creating the budget. So if you look at that and you're like, I don't want to spend $800 anymore on Ubers and fast food and drinks, so going out, maybe you have a going out bucket, you need to decide what your budget is going to be. Maybe you're going to like completely cut it out. Maybe you're going to drop it to like 500, 200, whatever. You get to make your budget, and there's a section of the Excel sheet that you get to create your spending goals or like your budget buckets on how much you want to spend on each item. Once you have assessed your spending and created your budget, that's when the actual like envelopes come in. This is what a generic little envelope looks like for me. This one has like workout on it because I do have a bucket to rebuy like pre-workout and protein and stuff like that for working out. But there's nothing else on this envelope because there is not a necessary like budget for it for me right now. Whenever I have extra money, I will put it into that bucket whenever it's getting close to the time that I need to rebuy that stuff. But I don't have a set amount that I need to put in there every paycheck or like during a new stuffing kind of thing. I also want to show you two of my other folders, my funsies and my out to eat one. As you can see, there are gift cards in here. So this is another way that if you have gift cards laying around, I always forget about them and they never get used. All of these were literally just in a junk drawer or in my wallet for years. And so when I reset this up, I put them into the folders so that way for funsies, I have, and I didn't even know, like over $200 of Amazon gift cards. I have like a $50 IKEA gift card, a movie gift card, and a Target gift card. Never was gonna get used. Now I will hit those things first before diving into money. Same thing with out to eat. I had a Grater's, Chili's, Cheesecake Factory, like had no idea, was not gonna get used. Now it's in a folder that I will use before I ever stuff it with money. Now, I also have folders that have a little sticker on it that I put on here with my actual budget or what I need to stuff in this every single month. And for my gas for the car, I'm putting $200 in here a month. And that is my budget. The key to this and what really makes this work is that whatever is in this bucket is all you have to spend in this area. What I also highly recommend doing is at each stuffing, if you do have extra money left over in your bucket before you're about to put more money in from a new paycheck or whatever, take whatever's left and put it into savings. That is the perfect way to save money and how this system helps you save money. But there's other options. If you have leftover money when you go to do a new stuffing, you can leave it in there so you have extra in this bucket, or you can reallocate. So if I put $200 in my gas budget, didn't end up driving that many places, I only used 100 of it, so I have 100 extra dollars at the end of the month, I can take that and put it into savings, keep it in my gas, or I can move it into my workout bucket or into my funsies bucket, whatever. You can do whatever you want with it at each new stuffing, but what makes this work is the discipline behind it, that when you stuff it, that's all you get. You cannot pull from another bucket. If you want to go do some fun stuff, but you don't have anything in your funsies folder, you're shit out of luck. You should have budgeted better. You should have allocated better. And think about that at the next stuffing. Of course, nobody is holding you accountable except for yourself, but I promise it works if you hold yourself accountable. And then I have a third type of folder. This one looks like my last one, but there's something else under here, but this is my Wi-Fi one. My budget is my Wi-Fi bill, so it's $55.37 that I pay monthly. And on this one, it's due on the 5th, and I write that on here to make sure that I have the amount that I need in this bucket before the 5th of every month. Now on my gas one, I just put the amount because if I just don't have it, I don't have it. It's not due anytime. I'll stuff it when I get it. But bills, you have due dates. So write those due dates on here, and I keep the ones with due dates at the front of my binder here. So that way when I'm flipping through and I'm stuffing them, the ones with due dates get stuffed first and then the other ones get stuffed later because these are the more important ones. These are time sensitive. These need to be paid. Now on this side, this is just another thing that helps me stay organized, but I put another sticky on here just with a schedule so that way I can mark off whenever I pay that bill or that bill has been paid or there's enough money in here to pay that next bill. So let's say I get a bonus from work and I want to stuff all of my like bill buckets, pay forward for the next few months, then I can put in here, you know, $300 and then cross off that I've paid my bill for April, May, June, and July. And then I'm like good and I don't have to stuff this until August next. So this is just a nice little checklist for me and it helps me. I would highly recommend doing this with your bills just so you can see how much money money you have, you know that your bills are paid, when it's due, how much you owe, etc. Now you might be asking, how do you budget for bills that fluctuate? So obviously Wi-Fi is the same amount every single time. Rent, same amount every single time. Now electric, I have it set up like my other one. So I have my budget, when it's due, my checklist, but my budget itself, I create this based on looking back at my 6 months, 3 months, however many months back you've looked at of what your bill has been, and trying to come to a good amount that allows you to keep living the life that you're living, or maybe you need to just turn off more lights. Like, again, you're assessing yourself. I know that typically we spend at least $300 in our electric bill for like our gas and our heat and whatever. Looking back though, in the winter, I noticed that our bill was almost like $400. And if that was the case, this $350 wouldn't have cut it, but I know that that's the outlier because that was December. It's colder, we're gonna be using more heat. So I would like to budget a little bit over than what I'm expecting, because again, if I have extra, that's good. It goes into savings, goes into another bucket. I don't wanna be short. So that's where you need to assess your spending, what your average bills are for anything that like kind of fluctuates. Give yourself some wiggle room. I always err on the side of having more than you need, of course. You don't wanna be short on your budget, and when your electric bill rolls around, you only budgeted for $200 because you're like, we need to be better, but then your bill is $300, and it might take a couple months for you to find that wiggle room, but just keep that in mind. So just a quick little like flip through. The ones with due dates are at the front, but I also put them in order for which they're due. So my rent folder is first because it's due on the 1st of every month, and then my Wi-Fi is going to be due on the 5th, and then I have credit card bills due on the 7th. Electric is going to be due on the 24th, and then we get into just monthly no due date budgets. So groceries monthly, my gas, the animal, which again, I don't have a budget right now, but if you know you have a budget, put it on here. Workout stuff, out to eat, funsies, and that's what I have so far. You might have more buckets, you might have less buckets. This next point is kind of specific to me because I have 2 jobs, and so I get paid weekly instead of bi-weekly because my jobs alternate, so it's really nice. But I would recommend doing this concept, but I would assume most of you have like 1 job or maybe like, you know, a side job, something. I keep a little cheat sheet in this first little folder of how much money I need to take out of each paycheck to fill a bucket specifically. Obviously, if you have fluctuating hours, you're not on salary, your paychecks are going to fluctuate. And so I like to just keep an idea of how much I'm going to need to fill my buckets. So maybe I need to pick up shifts, maybe I can give up a shift, whatever. It just helps me conceptualize how much money I need to be bringing in order to fill my buckets for my budgets on a monthly basis. I also broke it up between my 2 jobs. So the green is what I'm gonna fill from my Starbucks job, and then the purple is what I'm gonna fill from my Trek job. So every time I get paid from Trek, this is how much money I'm gonna be putting into those buckets. You know, twice a month, I'm gonna put $610 in, so that way I'll have full rent. I'm gonna put $250 in, that way I'll have full groceries. Every time I get paid from Starbucks, I'm gonna put these amounts into these buckets. And that is how I guarantee that my buckets get filled. And this is also easy because when I get paid, I can go and take this whole thing, but I can just take this little sheet with me to the bank and ask to withdraw this amount of money. And that way I know how much I need to stuff into my buckets. And that is the point that we're at right now, is I withdrew all the money that I needed. You can ask for specific bills. I do. If you know your budgets and whatnot, I know I'm not gonna need like cents, or I know I'm not gonna need dollar bills. If everything's a round number, you can ask for everything in 20s, but I have a little bit of everything. So I have a certain amount of 20s, a certain amount of 10s, and 5s and 1s. So that way I can fill all my buckets. And as I fill them, especially the ones that have due dates, I'm gonna mark off that those are paid for next month, because I'm stuffing right now in March to pay for April bills. I switched your angle. Sorry, you can't see my face. I just wanna walk you through this. So I'm gonna have my little cheat sheet next to me. That way I know how much I need to put into each of these folders. And then I'm gonna be taking my money and doing that. And specifically, this is a Starbucks paycheck. So again, I'm gonna go through the greens first to make sure those are allocated for. And then with whatever leftover money, I can start putting into what I would be paying with the Trek one. So we're gonna hit our electric and put in 175, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 75. Now, if you wanted to make this easy, which is something that sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I'm going to today to show you guys, is I have tiny little sticky notes. And if I'm not completely filling up this, but I want to know how much is going in, I kind of just keep a running tab. And so I have hit my 175, and I'm just going to put that on the front bill so that way I can read that from the outside of my envelope here. So that way my envelopes look like this. I know how much I need to have in total. I have 175 right now for electric, so I'm not quite yet checked off here for March. But for this folder specifically, because I am stuffing this at the beginning of March here, this is still due on the 24th. So I would want to check the calendar and make sure that I'm going to get paid again from Starbucks to fill this completely up before this due date. Because if not, I need to put the whole thing in right now, which I will be getting paid one more time. So we are all good. But just keep that in mind if you have due date ones. Obviously, you want to fill that bucket before they're due. Next up is Wi-Fi, which I have already paid in March. So right now we're filling up for April because that due date has already passed, and I need $28. 25, 6, 7, 8. And the same thing, we can write our little sticky note, and I kind of fold it to kind of keep track of this chunk being 28, and I put it lower on the dollar. That way it shows underneath my label, and everything can be seen from the front while I'm flipping through. And then the last one that I have to fill with this paycheck is my gas, which is 100. And gas is full. And that is all that I have allocated per paycheck from my Starbucks paychecks to fill my budget. And I have made it that way because if I follow this each paycheck, then I am good and everything's covered. But I have obviously extra money. So I could do two things with this. One, obviously all of this can be funsies, all of it can go to savings. You can do whatever you want with this money. But the responsible thing to do would be to start filling your other buckets and start just making sure that things are covered, and you can pay up, you could pay forward, whatever you need to do. Because one thing that I didn't mention yet is that you, of course, are going to do stuffings every paycheck. For me, that's every week. It might be bi-weekly for you. It might be monthly, whatever. But at the end of your budget cycle, which usually is at the end of a month to make sure all the bills are paid, whatever. I work on a monthly basis. That works for me. So at the end of the month, if you have left over, then you can throw that into savings. Then you can move that to funsies. Then you can move to other buckets. And that's what I like to do. So I would like to pay up so that way at the end of the month, I have extra money. Then that can be reallocated. And I know that everything is paid, all the bills are taken care of. But it is up to you to decide like which way you want to do that. Again, for me, it makes me feel better to fill buckets and then spend later. And I always start with my most important ones, the ones that have due dates, and make sure that that stuff is completely filled up. So we're going to start with rent. That's important. And since there's no like actual method, I can just choose what I want to put in this bucket. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 is what I want to put into my rent bucket. And this is a perfect example of when the sticky notes actually come in handy, because I'm not supposed to be putting money into this folder, but I am anyways. And so I'm not going to know how much this is because it's not the set amount on this sticky note. It's something different. So I am going to most definitely write a sticky note for this one, because when I go get paid from Trek, which is the paycheck that I've chosen to pay this bucket with, I already have 500 of the 610 that I'm supposed to put in that bucket. And I want to know that. And we're just going to work our way through here. I already have half of April's Wi-Fi done, and it's only March 9th. So I'm not going to worry about trying to fill that up because I'd rather hit something else, because I have plenty of time to fill that later. For example, my electric is something that I'm going to want to hit because I still haven't paid it yet in March, and we only have 175 of the 350 that I need. So this would be a case that I would want to take some of my extra money and just pay that forward. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 20, 30, 40, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. And since I had the 175 in there before, but now we are completely full, I'm going to take off that sticky note. And then I can cross off March. We have enough to pay March's electric bill. Obviously, it's not due until the 24th, so it's going to sit in here for a little bit. But that is taken care of. I have $3 left over from the extra money from my paycheck that can go into any bucket that I would like. And me personally, I'm trying to pay down some credit card bills, so I always put just extra money in my credit card folder. And I currently don't have a sticky note on here, so I want to count how much I have. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22, 32, 42. And specifically at my job, I get paid tips, and I always throw all my tips into my credit card folder. It's not really a part of my budgeted income because it's extra. So if you have a job like that, you can do whatever you want with it. And then we have a full binder that sometimes will or will not close. I hope that walkthrough was helpful or informational. It made sense. If it didn't, like, let me know, ask your questions. I feel like one question I always get whenever I do these videos is how do I pay like digital bills if I'm only working with cash? And you can go about this different ways if you don't want to withdraw the cash for digital bills that you have. Be my guest, just make sure that you save that money in your account before you withdraw the rest of it every paycheck. So you would still have like a little cheat sheet and, you know, put on here like rent is $610. 10, and let's say you get paid $800, then you're gonna leave $610 in your account and withdraw the rest in bucket. You could do that. Me, I still like to see my money and work with it physically, because if I have any money in my account, you could be tempted to swipe your card and potentially use up your rent money. Maybe don't carry your debit card with you so you're not tempted or whatever. For me, I just do it all in cash, and then before that bill is due, I'll go deposit that into a special account that I have that I don't have a debit card for, that's specifically for rent. And that's the account that like auto pay is hooked up to. It all goes through that account, not just like my normal checking that my direct deposits get put into. So there's obviously different ways to go about it. That's how I do it, and that's what works for me and helps me stay more accountable and just in charge of my money than letting my money like run me. And since my bill account is separate than my normal checking that I don't have a debit card for example, this electric that we just filled up today because I wanted to make sure that was taken care of with my extra money, I could just go ahead and deposit that in whenever I wanted to, so that way when direct deposit hits, it pulls it out. And when that is, I can just take this whole folder out with me and take it to the bank, and that way I can just deposit it. Same thing with when you do go grocery shopping, just take your grocery folder, don't take any other money, and stay within your budget. If you have to go get gas that day, just take this with you. You don't have to carry around this whole binder. You don't want to be carrying around hundreds or maybe thousands of dollars. Just take the folder you need for the day. If you guys are going on a date night and you're doing something fun, you stay within your budget when you're going to get drinks. Same thing for animals, like if you want to pick up extra toys or whatever. If you only have this folder with you, you can get whatever you want as long as you have money for it. I will probably do future like stuffing videos on my Instagram, or unless you guys want more videos of it, if you want like a monthly breakdown, but probably on my weekly. I can do those over on my Instagram, like reels and stuff like that, or hang out with you guys on live and like do this with you. Let me know, or let me know if you want more videos about this kind of stuff in general, because I love like budgeting hacks or like trying to live on a budget. I was definitely a broke college student and did so many videos on how the fuck I manage that, so just let me know. But I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I will link this down below. I absolutely love this like whole binder system. Depending on how much money you're working with, like this is pretty stuffed already with just one paycheck, so I know we're gonna get quite thick in here. But another thing that you can do, that I do because I get paid weekly, when I do get paid, I'm gonna take this whole thing in with me and start like exchanging some of my bills. Like if I have a whole folder just filled with ones, obviously that's really thick, so I can switch it out for a few 20s. Do whatever works for you. That's the moral of the story. But I love you guys so much, more than you'll ever know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.